Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real PR with me, Fiona Scott. As you can probably see, today's episode is very different. I'm not in my usual setting, I'm not in my office. And the reason for that is I got the off the cuff opportunity, whilst in a client's office, to interview the new Small Business Commissioner, Emma Jones, who I know from a previous life, and it was too good an opportunity to miss. So I really hope you enjoy the interview that I did recently with Emma. So, Emma, it's lovely to be joined by you today. Thank you so much. Tell me, what is the Small Business Commissioner? Just give us that rundown.
Absolutely. Well, lovely to be here, Fiona. Thanks for inviting me. So, the role of the Small Business Commissioner was started in 2017, and it has a very single focus to its role and its remit, which is to help small businesses get paid on time. So, it came into law through the Enterprise Act. And as I say, kind of the main job is how do we make sure small businesses spend less time chasing debt and more time working on their business?
Okay, so let people know, how do you qualify to fit that role? So give us a bit of your backstory, Emma.
Well, hopefully you'll feel I qualify for the role. But yes, a bit of the backstory. I had started a first company in my mid-20s in the dot-com boom. That was quite a rapid kind of start, grow, and then I sold the business within a 2-year time frame. And I thought about, well, this company to whom I sold, I had an 18-month lock-in clause, which meant I was kind of working for them for that time. And in fact, what is now the very famous side hustle concept, I spent my nights and weekends working on the next venture. But at the time, I read a book written by an American author called Dan Pink, and the book was called Free Agent Nation. And he was talking about the rise in the number of people who were going self-employed, starting businesses, becoming their own boss. And I thought, well, I think the UK is going to go a similar way to the States. We're going to have lots more self-employment. And so, long story short, I launched a business called Enterprise Nation, which was existed to help people start and grow small businesses, still exists today and is still very much doing that job. And so I led Enterprise Nation for just under 20 years. As a business, we scaled over a 7-year period because for the beginnings of the company, I kind of led it in a way that I don't like this term, but as a lifestyle business. But then I took on angel investment, decided to grow the company. And so I got to find out lots about small businesses. When I left Enterprise Nation in May of this year, we were attracting just over 800,000 small businesses to our platform each year, running lots of programs in support of small businesses. And of course, I was a small business owner myself. So, of course, that gives you this incredible vantage point of what's going on in their lives. So the role of the Small Business Commissioner, I'd watched it since it was launched in 2017. And interestingly, when the role came up 4 years ago, when my predecessor, Liz Barkley, came into role, I remember seeing it, Fiona, and thinking, wow, if I wasn't running a business, I'd love to do that job. And so kind of 4 years on, we kind of get to earlier this year. And because I'd sold my shares in Enterprise Nation back in 2023, I thought, well, actually, it's probably now or never in terms of kind of applying to do this role. And for those people who know me, they hopefully know I am very passionate about how do we make lives easier for small businesses? How do we get growth in the economy? And so I took on the role because I think this role has got an important piece to play in making sure that happens.
Okay, so how's it been?
Great. I'm in week 6. And when I say great, I have to be tempered on this because I'm very aware I've come in at a time when small businesses, depending on who you are, where you're trading, what you're selling, small businesses have had a tough time over the past few years. So I've come in at a point where there's lots of challenges, but also lots of opportunities as well. So I guess one thing that excites me about a role is, can I make a difference? And so I've kind of come in, and just to give you a little bit of the detail, Fiona, there's a team of 14 people. We have offices in London, Cardiff, Birmingham. I'm in Birmingham today with the team, and it's a great team. So the team are already in place. I pay homage to Liz Barkley, who was my predecessor. She got a great team up and running. And what I have come in to do is to essentially kind of work with the team. And I kind of say this again, is what I've kind of said to the team is we're on a mission to make lives easier for small businesses. Our role in that is to get money moving quicker through the economy. And we've got a three-pronged approach to how we can do it. Maybe I'll go into the detail of that. But I just feel it's just such an important time to get this right, because we have this amazing number of small businesses operating in the UK. We have lots of them wanting to trade more online. We have lots of them wanting to hire people, to innovate, to export. But of course, what they need to do that is the cash coming into their business. And critically, what founders need to do that is they need the time so that they're not working on stuff, but they're instead working on growth. And this is kind of what I'm saying that we need to do is let's try and remove all this stuff that's making small business owners feel that they're kind of treading in treacle. Let's move that. Let's get money moving quicker. Let's, promote adoption to kind of make things more smooth and more efficient. Give business owners back the time so that they can focus on growth and making the most of opportunities. So I've kind of hit the ground running, met the team, we have a plan, we're on a mission, and fortunately we've kind of got the support of government to be able to do it. So yes, lots to do, but so far so good.
And the one thing I've learned in business is that money mindset and money is critical to everything. It leaches into all areas of the business and all expertise that all business owners have to have a little bit of a lot of things. From your point of view, how serious an issue is late payment?
I mean, it's huge. And again, this is kind of, as I say, the main remit of the role. So sort of the stats, and in fact, we'll be coming out with some more stats on this later this week. But essentially, small business owners, of course, are owed the money. So there's a big figure, 12 billion to the economy in terms of kind of how much businesses are owed. But the big thing that just kind of gets to me all the time is the unproductive hours spent chasing debt. And, I've been there. I've been there as a founder where I'm kind of like, oh, the time to onboard into supply chains, then the time chasing the invoices. And I think what all small business owners will empathize with is small business owners didn't go into business to cash flow larger customers. They just want to get paid for the services and products they're delivering so that they can keep delivering those services and products. So it's a big issue, which of course then makes it slightly complex in terms of how do you go about trying to solve it. And maybe, Fiona, this is kind of a moment just to kind of share with you the approach that we are taking to that. We've kind of got three pillars. The first pillar is all around digital adoption. So there's a couple of elements to this. One is we've got lots of evidence that shows small businesses who use things like cloud accounting software get paid quicker. So we want to kind of try and say, right, if we can see this, let's try and encourage more small businesses to use this software. So that's kind of like task number one. Task number two, we want to make sure that digitally traded businesses get paid on time. So I had a roundtable session just last week where we had all the major marketplaces from the UK and the payment providers came together. So Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Faire.com, Vinted. And we want to make sure that if you sell on those marketplaces, which hundreds of thousands of businesses are doing, let's make sure you get paid on time as well. We had a great positive response from the marketplaces, and there'll be more information to come on that. And the third element of digital is one thing, Fiona, that's kind of been on my mind for a few years is the UK is brilliant at something called open finance. So we've been very good at this for years. And what open finance is about is banking and accounting transaction data for small businesses can be opened up to other providers who can then base decisions based on insight of how small businesses are performing. And the ultimate vision, if you kind of think about how do we make lives easier for small businesses, is how do we get to a place where we can kind of connect every small business owner with almost the concept of their own personal business agent, where the agent, based on knowledge of how the business is performing, could say to the business, hey, do you realize a local authority cash grant has just come onto the market? You are eligible for this as a business and I've preloaded your application form. Or your bank has got a new line of credit that they can give to you because you're an eligible business. I've preloaded the form. So essentially, how do we get to a place where the business owner doesn't have to think about the type of support they need and where they're going to get that support from, but based on transaction data, it can be served to them. So we're looking at all of these kind of areas to say, how do we leverage enabling technology that we have in the world these days to improve the lives for small businesses? And at the same time, making sure that we're doing this in partnership with trade, with, of course, fellow government colleagues. And then the final element, Fiona, is kind of if we can use enabling technology, make the lives easier for small businesses, how do we also create a positive payment culture by showcasing businesses who are doing a good job of this? And one thing we manage in the office is something called the Fair Payment Code. And this is a code that rewards businesses for paying their suppliers on time. So there's 3 categories: bronze, silver, gold. And depending on how quickly you pay your suppliers, you can get onto the code. So we'll be doing lots more around the code in terms of celebrating the businesses who are doing the right thing.
I just wanted to pick up on a few of the things you said there, Emma. I think the paying digitally is right. Allowing people to pay quickly via an online system definitely helps cash flow, even if you've got to give a little to a payment provider to enable that. So I think that's a really positive way forward. The enabling technology, I guess you might be talking about some kind of AI thing there. And I'm not one of those business owners who's afraid of AI. I think that we should be looking at how we can adapt it to our very varying business models. But I did want to talk to you about late payment, because one of the things that I have interviewed predecessors of yours before. And one of the things that I found is there's a lot of talk about big companies not paying small businesses on time. But in my experience, it often happens between one small business and another. And I wondered if, has that been your experience? Would you just focus on large companies not paying small businesses and corporations not paying small businesses?
Yeah, so Fiona, the remit of the office is formed in legislation, so we can do what is within the remit. And you're right to kind of flag this, because our remit is cases of small businesses not being paid by larger companies. So another part of the office is we have an amazing casework team. So any small business that's having an issue with a larger company can get in touch with the casework team, and the casework team, on behalf of the small business, will go and file a complaint, hopefully try and get the case resolved. But you are right to share this, because our definition of a large company is a company with 50 plus employees. We cannot get involved when it's an issue between 2 small businesses. And a big part of the reason for that is, if 2 small businesses are having issues paying each other, the resolution of that is going to damage one of the businesses. So it's either the business who doesn't end up getting paid, or the business who does pay them, because I guess they're delaying it because there's something happening in their own business. And so there was a consensus that actually, surely our role in this is to help small businesses get paid by those who are able to pay them, where we don't have to make judgments that are essentially going to, create harm to one of the businesses if it's between small and small. We actually have got we've got a consultation coming out on potential legislation for new powers for the Small Business Commissioner. And we are looking at, could we stretch the definition a little bit of what a large company is? But I don't think we will stretch it to bring that employee number down. I think, if anything, what we would look at is cases whereby small businesses are not getting paid by a larger company, but maybe that larger company is based not in the UK. And this is one of our other criteria, is the company against which a complaint is being made has to have more than 50 people based in the UK. So one thing we're looking at is, we do want to help companies who've got issues overseas. So maybe can we kind of look at that definition? But for now, Fiona, I think what we will stick with as a remit is small being affected by large companies, as opposed to small businesses each kind of not paying each other. Saying that, this is everything where it goes back to having a positive payment culture. We do see small businesses are signing up to the Fair Payment Code, so small businesses can indeed showcase their good payments. We would love to see small businesses take the fact they're good payers to be able to go on and win government contracts or win any kind of contract, hire people, make sure that their team feel good about working there. So in all the work we do, building this sense of having a positive payment culture will hopefully have a good consequence as well when it comes to small businesses paying their fellow small business owners on time.
So with the fair payment project, if you like, or initiative that you've got, which I love the thought of, can anyone go for that, even if it's just you're a sole trader, for example?
Anyone can go for that. And in fact, as of today, we're on just under 350. So it launched late last year in 2024. So we're under just under 350 businesses who have code awardees. And as I say, it's between bronze, silver, gold, and you can be any size of company in order to apply to the code. A big part of my work at the moment is encouraging more larger businesses to sign up to the code because, as I say, kind of that's where our focus of work is. But any small business can apply. And so we have lots of amazing small businesses who are on it. And as I say, what they use the code for is to publicly show that paying their suppliers promptly is something that's really important to that business. And we can see lots of benefits from businesses publicly sharing that with their communities, their customers, and their employees.
Okay. You're aware, but people listening or watching this won't be aware that I told a lot of my circles that I would be talking to you, and I got some questions back. I do, of course, accept that you're not the answer to all ills or all solutions across the whole world of small business. So some of these might come based upon your experience before you took this role, but I'm going to put these questions to you anyway, if that's okay. One of my business buddies, Pete, said he felt that running a small architects firm of 12 staff, trying to access procurement opportunities, particularly through portals and devoting time and resource to that, puts his type of business at a huge disadvantage to a business also defined as an SME, which has got 250 staff. And what's your view on that? He felt it's a very unequal and not very nuanced area just to say SME.
Well, this is where you've picked my second greatest passion point, which is SME procurement. And Fiona, you may remember a number of years ago, I held a role of something called SME Crown Representative, which is a role now held by a brilliant lady called Shirley Cooper. And that role is all about getting more SMEs winning public sector contracts. So a couple of things I'd say on that. One, I think it's very much an improving situation. So in February of this year, a new law came into effect called the Procurement Act. And the whole thrust of the Procurement Act is to make it easier for small businesses to sell into government. So I would say a couple of things connected to that. If you are a smaller business, of course, it can take time to get on these frameworks, write the bids, etc. So what we are seeing is lots of small businesses selling into government via larger suppliers. And increasingly, government buyers themselves are saying to their tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers, we want you to make sure you've got more SMEs in your supply chain. So if it feels too onerous, too burdensome to pitch direct, I would say find those firms who have got 250 employees who are winning the work, approach them and say, actually, we could be an SME in your supply chain. It helps the smaller business focus on what they do best, and it helps the bigger company go ahead and win those contracts. So I say, have a look at that. I would also say potentially start with local work first. So potentially pitch to your local council, start local, build up your credentials and capability, and then look at the central government contract opportunities. And just a little on the logistics of that, government has launched something called a central digital platform. So all government opportunities are on that one platform. So as a small business, you can go and look for the contract opportunities. And as I say, either decide to bid yourself, but I would say try and find those other tier, larger suppliers and potentially get in their supply chain. One of the good things, Fiona, by the way, of selling to the public sector is they do have a pretty good prompt payment record.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm sure Peter will find that very valuable. I also wanted to ask you about, because I had lots of questions in about the health of the high street. I know technically it doesn't come under the Small Business Commissioner. What's your view on that? Because for me, I mean, I'm not on the high street, but I have clients that are. I just think we really need to change how we perceive the high street.
Agreed. And as you say, this doesn't come into my day job remit, but it very much comes into my post-curricular activity. So I'm a non-exec director of a community interest company in Ramsgate, Kent, called Ramsgate Space, which was set up to do exactly this. So as you say, lots of empty shops in the high street. Ramsgate, as a case in point, 45% of the shops are empty. When you look at the detail of that as a problem, not all of those empty shops are actually currently being marketed as empty sites. So some of the issue sits with what's called land banking. So this is where landlords hold on to their sites, and it's maybe more beneficial for them to keep it empty. So one thing that kind of needs to be addressed is how do we encourage landlords to see the benefits of filling their spaces with activity? But say a site is being marketed, of course, what small businesses then need to think of, and I've been running a whole business support series of events in Ramsgate for local people who are thinking of opening delis, fashion shops, maker spaces, incredible array of entrepreneurial ideas. But Fiona, it won't surprise you to know that if they're just starting out, as many of these people are, you're nervous about taking a full-time site with business rates and rents and all that that entails. So I'm a big believer in do pop-ups first. So start with test trading, potentially share space with other businesses that are similar to your own. And one thing that the Labour government has brought in, which I think it's useful for small businesses to be aware of, is something called high street rental auctions. So this is, again, a new piece of law that says if a shop has been empty for more than 12 months, the community can now take ownership of that shop. And you have to involve your local council in this transaction, but you can say now the community can take it on. So in short, I feel that a huge part of the solution to this is the local community, because the local community needs to shop on the high street in order for then when the businesses are kind of filling the space, they need to have the customers. So in order to kind of get a healthy high street, you need to know what the community wants. So there's lots of kind of doing that market research. Where are the gaps in the high street? Hopefully then moving in small businesses with willing landlords who are prepared to let small businesses maybe have a little bit of a rent-free period. Making sure that the kind of small businesses where they've got to pay the business rates as well, and then still to keep the community on side to kind of build the health of the high street. Because once you open a few new shops, you then have that beautiful kind of domino effect of, well, more people are coming to the high street, then there's more gaps in the market, so more small businesses move in. So the model that we're following, and as I say, Ramsgate Space has been up and running for just under 12 months. And actually, we were just delighted to win Visa's Top Towns competition when it comes to business support. We've got lots more work to do, but I've definitely seen from that experience, it's absolutely community rooted. If the community comes together and says, right, let's fill these shops, let's contact the landlords, let's clean up the high street, let's support small businesses looking to go in them, I think that can be part of the solution to say, let's get the life back and buzzing high streets again.
Yeah, absolutely. Variety. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, if I say the word Swindon to you, what do you think?
I think a beautiful city. I hope I'm right in saying a city.
It's a town.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you go. So hopefully that's a good thing then, because I feel that there's the perception of Swindon is very much a well-connected place. So brilliant transport links, which I'm aware of. And indeed full of bustling small businesses. I know that there was the likes of Honda in Swindon, which I know is, you know, when large companies can descale, kind of downscale, move out, that kind of creates an impact. But yes, I definitely have a view of an entrepreneurial location. And that's to say by the fact I thought it was a city, larger than the sum of its parts.
It certainly aspires to be a city. One of the problems we've got very particular in Swindon and Wiltshire because of its proximity to London is recruitment and retention. and particularly in certain areas, tech being one of them, is we've lost a lot of people who, because of more working from home is more normal, they're being poached by London companies, being paid London salaries. So local talent is hard to find that wants to stay local. I mean, what's your general feeling on recruitment and retention?
Well, I mean, the race for talent has always been tough in terms of how to attract great people. And then, as you say, it's kind of once you've attracted them, hopefully, how do they stay in the business? I mean, certainly from when I was at Enterprise Nation, this is something I saw is, in particular, young people are absolutely looking for flexibility. So any business, I think if you can offer that, you're likely to get sort of the top candidates, because it just seems that no one really wants a 5-day a week office presence job anymore. I think young people, and this relates to people of all ages, do still appreciate that physical connection though with teammates. So if you can offer hybrid working. So the benefit of flexibility, whilst also saying, actually come in, be part of a community, be part of a team, learn skills whilst being in an office environment, which I think is super helpful. And then I think on the job training. So for those who want to grow within their career, anytime they see a company that kind of takes their people seriously and sees that kind of internal career ambition, training opportunities, I think that can be something that's very helpful, because, and surveys show this many times, and again, particularly amongst young people, is of course salary is important, but young people do put other factors up top. So it is flexibility, career progression, the opportunity to have training and development, to work with people who they respect and can see a future for themselves in that business, and also for the business to have a culture that feels right for kind of newcomers. Lots of young people wanting to work for businesses that have a purpose, looking to take a societal wrong and kind of correct that wrong. So I think small businesses are really good at offering all these kind of opportunities. And I think the more that small businesses can get out there, I know they've got lots of other things to be doing, but if you can kind of showcase that, dare I say, you're a good payer, you're a good employer, you can offer that flexibility, then hopefully the talent will coalesce around that.
And I think the final question I wanted to ask you, Emma, is in terms of late payment and your remit, do you actually have any teeth, as it were, to take action? I
Great
know you've got
question.
teeth, but you know
Great
what I'm saying.
question. Do we, well, and Fiona, I mentioned this before, there's actually a consultation coming out on this. And just to share kind of my approach to this, and I said this actually when I was interviewing for the role, is this role is both about stick and carrot. And I've always been a person who would rather use a motivational incentive as opposed to fines or investigations. So, as I say, so much of my work at the moment is very much on building a positive payment culture, leveraging amazing enabling technology to make lives easier for small businesses. However, at the end of the day, there are maybe some businesses where if it's repeat bad behavior, they just won't respond to kind of the carrot approach. And so you need that stick. And so this is where we've got a consultation coming out, looking at potential new powers to investigate and fine businesses where we see that there's wrongdoing. So the consultation will come out. We will look at that. But it's been really interesting, Fiona, because for the time that I've been in role, when complaints have come into the office and we have then approached the company against which the complaint has been made, most of the time, 9 out of 10, it is down to processes not quite working as to why the payments weren't made. It wasn't an intent not to pay. So this is kind of what I'm hoping is we can do all of this good, proactive, positive work, build a positive payment culture where businesses just see it as the right thing to do to pay their suppliers on time. And one thing I am saying to businesses is you would never dream of paying your employees late. So just don't pay your suppliers late, because your suppliers can be as valuable to you as the team that you actively employ. So we're looking at potential new powers, but yeah, as I say, we're hopefully going to do all of this proactive and positive work to ensure that businesses just feel, well, actually, the culture is changing. Our processes mean we can pay our suppliers on time. It's the right thing to do. Let's just go ahead and do it.
Brilliant. And to finish up, because I know how busy you are, how can people find you, Emma, and find out what you're doing, what you're up to, and what the Small Business Commissioner is achieving?
Well, I'm very open to communications, and in fact, I'm sharing a weekly update. Every Friday, I'm sending on LinkedIn a newsletter and a post, because that's the thing. I'm super keen to try and bring the small business community with us on this journey. There's no point in doing anything unless it responds to a problem that small businesses have. So I post every week. I look at all of the responses. On day one of being in the role, I shared my email address and said, contact me. I'm on X. I'm going to be out at lots of events. So there'll be an in-person ability. And this is the thing, when you speak to small businesses, of course, you hear their full lives as well as payment. There's kind of other things of export. You've mentioned yourself how small businesses deal with technology and hiring. And we would love to be a conduit into government. That, as I say, our remit is very clear, which is all about the money. But we do want to be a conduit into government for small businesses who are saying, actually, I've got other opportunities or I've got a challenge. So yes, we do want to be that place where you can come. But as I say, I'm being very kind of public about what we're doing, hopefully the progress we're making. So LinkedIn, X, and as I say, lots of events coming up over the summer and the rest of 2025.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Emma. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that interview, listening to Emma with her advice and what's going to be happening while she's a Small Business Commissioner. You can go off and find the Small Business Commissioner online, or you can connect with Emma on LinkedIn as she described. If you'd like to find me, I'm on LinkedIn too, Fiona Scott, or you can find scottmedia.uk on the interweb. Until next time, thank you for watching.